All right, I remember one time in English class, the teacher had this thing up on the bulletin board, and it said, "He who never climbs never falls." And in other words, what it means is if you don't put yourself out there, you won't fail. You know, if you don't put yourself out there, you won't fail. But if you do put yourself out there, there's a possibility you'll fail or fall. And I said to her, like, well, I guess I won't be climbing or something. She got upset because she thought it was something really smart she put up there. And, you know, it wasn't spelt out for me like, if you don't try things, you'll never know if you'll be successful. It was, he who never climbs never falls. Okay, so you've been watching me with this huff and puff and the dual conversion and the whole thing. So last night I turned it on and I tuned this knob into 3.33 megacycles, and WWV was there. Okay, not WWV, CHU Canada. So anyway, I'm like, okay, so I tune up to the 75 meter band, which this will also do, and I put in 3.885, and there was nobody there. I said, and the night before there was nobody there. So I said to myself, oh, I guess they're not on, right? And it's the 75 meter. These guys get on there and they get a net going and they talk about different things. When it gets political, I shut it off. So anyway, I tuned in to 3.885, nothing. So I put on my DX390 on 3.885. It's coming in with the aerial all the way down. I tuned this back to 3.33. Now right now there's no offset. It's strictly straight frequency of the Franklin oscillators. 3.33. Okay, close enough. So WWV, or CHU Canada. So then I go back to 3.885. So I said, all right, let me find out what's going on. All right, here's what's going on. Something I totally did not see coming. All right, now I have the two frequencies set out here. Okay, 3.33 subtracted from 6 megahertz crystal on the first mixer gives me 2.67 megahertz. All right, and then you adjust that with 455, and that gives you 3.125 to the second mixer, and it gives you CHU Canada. You put in 3.885 and subtract it from the crystal, you get 2.115 megahertz. And then with the 455 adjustment, you get 2.57. Well, you don't see it, or maybe you do see it. Okay, what's wrong? Remember, the first mixer takes frequencies and downshifts it. Well, the poor display, even if you do an offset, it goes up in value. In other words, when you're turning the frequency, it's tracking, the digital display is tracking the frequency in a positive direction. Well, when you use a 6 megahertz crystal as a down converter, you invert, or you're using an inverse. So you could set the offset and you get 3 CHU Canada, but then when you go to tune the 75 meter guys, it won't work. It's off. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, what's going on? So I was thinking about it. I said, you know, I felt like this thing was lurking. So what you'd actually need is to be able to set this so it's, besides having an offset, it can do an inverse. I don't know if it can. I have to go read up on it. But if you've been following along, there's nothing wrong with my circuit. Okay? My circuit base is based on a Collins R388, and that uses a block of wood. And after they convert the frequencies in that, they calibrate the block of wood. So no matter which way the frequency goes, when you turn the knob, whether it goes up or they've calibrated it that way. But if you put a digital readout on something that works backwards or inverse, it's not going to track correctly. Okay? Yeah, there's an offset. You can add an offset which is for the IF offset. But what if your oscillator is going backwards in order to fix the inverse, and it gives you the station, but the display doesn't match. So if you leave this set up and you put in, you dial in 3.125, 3.125, okay? If you were to put that in the second IF, the second mixer, bing, CHU Canada comes on, okay? Now you got to turn this to get, you got to go down in frequency, believe it or not, to get a frequency that's higher. So you go down to 2. I don't know if it'll go far enough. 2.11115. All right, actually 2.57. Okay, so it does work. Well, anyway, so that's what I did wrong. Okay, so unless I can reprogram this display, which forget it, I'm no good at programming. It won't track correctly. Oh man, I'm sitting there, and then I go to bed and I keep thinking about it. I'm like, man, I really did it. But see, I was copying a Collins radio, and they do make a display, a digital display for the Collins, but it uses all kinds of, it uses a microprocessor. And I mentioned that to someone, I was having this other problem, and they mentioned there was a programming pin, and that solved the other problem that I would have if I went for 2 bands. But now I have this problem where the offset. Now I don't know if you can do a negative offset. I don't know. I don't know. There are in the setups, when you hit this button, you know, here's your IF offset. Okay, this is the offset. Which direction do you want to be, above the frequency or below the frequency? There's channels. What's this? See, I have to go look at this. That might be to shift the frequency over the decimal point. I don't know. I don't know if this display will do what I actually need. Yeah, L1. What is L1? Okay. I got to read up on this, but as is, my circuit works fine. If you were to put a pointer on this, which you can on this one, you could calibrate this dial. You could put a dial in here, and this circuit would work great, but it won't work with a digital readout. And that's what I have to work on now. But man, I'm almost ready to put this into a box with shielding and everything, and a major design flaw. See, every night when I was adding amplifiers and stuff, I was using CHU Canada. And then I also took the output of the unit and I was running it over to the DX390. And everything was fine. Every once in a while I put the hams on that way, but actually making it go through into the, here's the RF amp on here. Oh, we're out of, oh, in other words, I don't know if you can hear that. Okay, so the radio sitting right here has the BFO and not the BFO, it has everything going, but the display is reading wrong. And it's not a matter of just an offset. It needs to go inverse because of the wacky down converter front end that I copied. I think that's it. All right, that's it.